Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at transactional writing, and as you know, our mission here is to make everyone a little bit better at English, and then once you get to a certain stage, to make them a lot better at English. So let's dive straight in to my iPad screen, and not going to lie, I did spend about 5, 10, 15 minutes trying to work out how to even use the iPad today because it's a new thing for me. But I'm pretty good with tech, so picked it up quite quickly. Now I'm trying to work out how to do that flipping pencil thing that people do, where you spin the pencil from one side to the other and keep it going. Going to be spending a few hours on that, no doubt. So anyway, looking at transactional writing today, and I am the king of acronyms, as you may or may not know if you've ever seen any of my content. So the focus really today is on two major acronyms. One is called TAPS. The other one you will find out later. You'll have to stay tuned. So we're going to start with TAPS. And the TAPS is the first thing that you do on any new transactional writing that you get. This video is predominantly for AQA students, but if you happen to be doing OCR, EdXL, or one of the others, there's still going to be a lot of value in this for you. So stick around. The type of writing is obviously the very first thing that you need to work out. And the type of writing is typically going to be a speech, a letter, a newspaper, or a magazine. And it doesn't matter which of those four come up. The two things that you then need to really focus on from your type are going to be the formatting of the writing and the formality of the writing. Okay, so the formatting is just the layout on the page. So for example, if you're doing a newspaper article, you want to put a big headline at the top. If you're doing a letter, you want to start it with Dear Mr. So-and-so, Dear Mrs. So-and-so. So that's the formatting. And I go into much more depth in other videos on that specific area. Today's more of an overview. You also want to think about your formality. And that arrow is really annoying me because I didn't draw it very well. But anyway, formality is how basically how posh, how well spoken you are as you deliver your message. So if you're speaking to someone who you don't really know, which is actually coming into audience now in terms of something called familiarity. If you are speaking to someone you don't really know or from a different generation than you, things like that, then you probably will speak with a higher level of formality. Whereas if it's someone that you know well, or that is more within your, within your world, your age, your life stage, whatever, you'll probably speak with a little bit less formality. So type is crucial. Audience is crucial in terms of familiarity and how that links to formality. Then we've got this thing called purpose. So there are really only two major purposes for the GCSEs you need to worry about learning. The most prominent one by far is persuasion. And I'd say that's about 90% of the time, especially in AQA. Persuasion. So being able to sell a viewpoint or your viewpoint, convince people, argue your side of things, try to make them see things the way you see things. The other side is just inform or advise. So basically you're giving them the information, but you're letting them decide whether they agree with it, disagree with it, make up their own mind, basically. So the purpose is very important. And then finally, the subject. So the subject is typically just somewhere between light, medium, and heavy, right? So, or serious. So a light subject might be, something like your favorite pet, or like what the best breed of dog is. I like dogs. Or your favorite holiday, just something lighthearted. Medium is going to be most of them. And then serious would be, or heavy would be something that is more to do with life, death, like subjects that are more sensitive, that have deeper weight to them. And that, again, of course, will affect how you persuade or inform, how familiar you are and how you speak to your audience, how formal you are with them or serious you are with them. And then it doesn't really affect the formatting, but you get the idea. So the very first thing that you do, no matter what the question is you TAPS it. So here's an example. This is something I made up, but it could easily be the question. A student commented that English is a waste of time in 2024. Write a speech to your class where you argue your viewpoint. You'll see there's an arrow headed that way. That's going to take us into the second very important acronym in just a minute. So, just looking at this question, English is a waste of time in 2024. That's the subject. And I would say that that is probably coming in as a medium subject overall. I don't think it's super heavy, but I don't think it's super light either. And some people will feel a lot more passionately about defending English or decimating English, depending on your viewpoint. Speech, in this case to your class. So the formality of a speech is typically a little bit lower, more casual formality, building rapport with your audience. Obviously, in this case, because it's to your class, sort of other year 10s, maybe year 9s, year 11s, that kind of age group, you're going to be very familiar and you can speak in a way that makes that audience feel comfortable. And then you argue your viewpoint. In this case, the purpose is persuasion, or the synonym of persuasion, which is argue. Okay. So now that you have tapped the question, you already have a lot more of a sense of where you might want to go with it. You know that you have to format it like a speech. So just quickly, in terms of formatting like a speech, you might, if it's a more serious speech, you might be like, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Since this is a more informal speech, you might just start it with something like, hey everyone, my name's X and I'm here today to talk to you about Y, right? But you just show the formatting of a speech. And at the end, you might just say something like, thank you for listening. Are there any questions? Something like that. Okay. So that's the formatting. And that's also a little bit on the familiarity and the formality, because it's your class. English is a waste of time. You'd lay out your arguments why you agree or disagree or are somewhere in the middle of that statement. Most people are probably somewhere in the middle. And then argument, right? So now that we know we're arguing, we need to think about what devices to put into our toolkit in order to be really effective in our persuasive writing, in our arguing, in this case, for our transactional writing. So the acronym that I teach is DAForest. There's actually 2 A's and there are 2 R's. And actually, I think there are also 2 E's, aren't there? Yes. So what that means is I actually need to add 1 more of these. And I'm not going to lie to you, I'm pretty impressed with how quickly I managed to do that. ST. The size went weird. Okay. ST. You get the idea anyway. So you're going to use different amounts of DAForest in different ways depending on whether it's persuasion or information. Since this is persuasion, you're going to do, and especially because it's a speech, you're going to do a lot of the first element, which is directly addressing the audience. And you might also try and make it more inclusive by doing things like we or our or us, to make it feel like you're on the same page as them or you're in this with them. Okay, you might use you sometimes as well, but that obviously makes it sort of you versus me, or sort of separates. So we, our, us, those are great words to use if you're doing a persuasive speech. Now, you're probably going to use some anecdotes in a persuasive piece. And that's just going to build rapport with your audience, basically, and make yourself seem a lot more personable and approachable, that sort of thing. The other A is alliteration. This probably is quite useful for a speech because a speech is a verbal form of communication, and alliteration helps make things more memorable. But that's more because it's a speech and not as much because it's persuasion. Then you've got facts. You definitely want to use some facts to back up your ideas and make your ideas seem solid. You've got your opinion. You want to share this at least to some extent. You might also put other people's opinions as well to make your opinion seem more prevalent or like it's the majority view. You've then got rhetorical questions. You've got repetition. And I think that these can be useful, obviously. So rhetorical questions are going to frame the audience's mind. You can get to choose to set questions to make them think or feel certain things. Repetition is good because it's a speech, so you're repeating your most important ideas multiple times. You definitely want to use some experts, so you might use scientists, psychologists, or psychiatrists, whoever the experts are in the particular piece you're writing. Something that you might use, depending on your arguments, is emotive language to make your audience think or feel a certain way about the subject that you're talking about. You need to be careful with that depending on how light or serious the topic is. But you can definitely manipulate emotion to make things seem more persuasive over time. You're less likely to use emotive language when you're doing an information piece or a piece that's more serious. Finally, last two, you've got statistics. So statistics help back up your ideas, and tricolon. Tricolon can be really good for a speech, especially towards the end of the speech when you're trying to come to the ending arguments and sort of sum up your ideas. And again, tricolons can be really memorable as well. So that's Da Forest. And as I said, you're going to use different amounts of Da Forest depending on whether it's an argument, persuasion, or whether it is information, and depending on the type. But that is an incredibly powerful acronym if you just want to boost your level in transactional writing, which, as I'm sure you're painfully aware, is 50% of English language paper 2. Okay, so this is a big deal. It's really important that you understand this and get this really well under wraps and practiced before you sit those exams. Bunch more resources on my community page. Feel free to join that, completely free. And there's also chats and sort of support groups. We're sort of all in a trauma group together trying to survive English GCSE. But lots of useful resources there if you found this helpful. Also, if you found this helpful, please, subscribe to the channel, give us a big thumbs up, or embarrassingly, as they say, smash that like button. And then final thing I want to talk to you about, so that this video doesn't go too crazy long, we're about 12 minutes at the moment, is just timings for all of this. Now, this bit isn't as neat, but, I want it to represent the scrappiness of the actual exam day, scrabbling around, panicking a little bit. Hopefully not. Hopefully you'll be nice and prepared. If you're regular timings, then 45 minutes for this section of the exam for transactional writing. This is effectively section B. If you've got extra time, it's 57 minutes total for this section. If you're non-extra time, spend about 15 minutes planning. If you're extra time, you want to spend about 20 minutes planning. The way that you plan, you first of all identify the type, audience, purpose, subject, like I did at the beginning with you, the TAPS here. That's going to help you understand the formatting, formality, familiarity, the actual function of your writing, persuasion or information, and then the subject. That takes about 2 minutes. Then you want to do what I call the bones of your piece, so your major arguments. So, if you agreed that English is a waste of time in 2024, you might talk about how Shakespeare is really old language and not easy to understand, and why don't they just update to a newer book or a newer play, something like that. That might be one of your arguments. And then you might use, after that bone has been created, you might then flesh it out with some Da Forest. So you might have an expert that explains, or a statistic. So you might have Dr. So-and-so, child psychiatrist, says that learning Shakespeare is damaging to mental health of teenagers. That obviously I'm kind of joking a bit. That seems a bit extreme. You might use a statistic, something like 50% of students agree that Shakespeare is difficult, or they don't find it useful, or whatever. So that's the flesh. So you do 3 to 4 main points. That takes about 5 minutes of your planning time. Da Forest, all of those those main points, that's 7 minutes. And you'll see that adds up to 14 minutes, sort of 14, 15 minutes for that guideline. If you're an extra time student, you just add a couple minutes to each bit. So you might take 3 minutes to do taps, 6 minutes, let's say, for your main points, and maybe even going up to like 10 minutes for the Daft Forest. Either way, in the same range. Then non-extra timers, you have 30 minutes to write. You should be writing about 25 to 30 words per minute, which will get you anywhere from 750 to 900 words. And that's pretty much where I would recommend you are getting to for this exam, part of the exam. And extra timers, you're basically in the same boat. You're aiming for 25 to 30 minutes for about the same, about 750 to 900 words total. You do want to do a little introduction. You might want to do a little conclusion as well. I've got more content on those areas for later on, so I'm not going to focus on that right now. So I think that that's going to be me wrapping up the video for today, because I don't want this to go on to like really super long timings and end up being something that is 20, 30, 40 minutes. So hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, smash that like button, embarrassing. Subscribe if you found that this helpful. Consider joining the community, totally free of charge. And I just want to finish with my personal mission, which is my goal is to get you to a level 6 or level 7. If you get to that stage with my free content, that's when you can apply for my full course. And the full course, like I said, application only. You have to write me a level 6 or level 7 essay minimum that is then marked by me or one of my team members and confirmed to be that level. At that point, you're invited to be able to join. And that's where we get to the crazy portion. That's basically been my career for the last 20 years, has been taking students that get to that level 6, level 7 and optimizing everything they do to make them maximize their chance of getting level 9. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely stick around for the free content. Consider giving a shot at applying. Hope you enjoyed this and stay safe.